Now, who wouldn't want to live in a bigger house with space for perhaps a study, a playroom for the kids, or maybe even a home cinema? The trouble is, moving and buying that bigger house is prohibitively expensive. Now, I'm about to meet a couple who've always known that their house, or rather their basement, was an untapped resource, and they've now decided to realise its hidden potential. In this series, we'll show how a group of innovative homeowners are pushing their houses to the limit by tunnelling underground
and welcome to the back cave
and building upwards into the sky to transform their properties.
It's a massive hole.
But major building work like this rarely goes without a hitch.
In 8.5 years of converting lofts, I've never had a setback like this.
And when the builders move out, we'll find out if it was worth all the work and the worry.
I couldn't be happier.
It's much smaller than we thought it would be.
Oh, is it? Altrincham is a highly sought-after area in Cheshire, and it's also where the Greening family call home. Meet financial advisor John and his wife Liz, who works as a pharmacist. Together they have two very boisterous boys, Tom and Joe.
Demands, games, but lots of fun.
They stretched themselves to the max when they bought their house for £420,000. But just 6 years on, they've already run out of space.
Now the boys are a little bit bigger than babies. We don't fit in the house. There's clutter and toys and bedding and prams and bikes.
Stop it! You did it!
And also, I work from home a little bit. It's on the dining room table, which is not the ideal place. So it turns out that our huge, enormous 4-bed semi is not as huge and enormous as we thought it was going to be.
With a large basement used mainly as a dumping ground, they saw an opportunity to create some much-needed family living space.
We're hoping that when we've done this, we'll have a place to put the kids and all their stuff that they can enjoy and is their own space. And touch wood, I'll have a decent-sized big room to go and call my own, and Liz will be locked out of it. She's not allowed in there.
Their grand plan starts with a sunroom for John leading out from underneath the house into the back garden. And that's not the half of it. They're going to create a new living space under the entire house, which will include a playroom and an office. But digging down and moving supporting walls isn't without its risks.
For me, I wouldn't want to upset the whole structure of the building with it being semi-detached. That would be just a nightmare.
My problem is cash. It's taking a bit of saving, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've had the quote, we know how much it's going to cost. The idea of spending all this money just fills me with horror.
It's an ambitious project that's swallowing John and Liz's savings, so I want to quiz them a little bit more. Hi, Liz.
Oh, hi, Johnny. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Come in.
Thank you very much. So, what is the plan?
And we're looking at trying to almost mirror the footprint on the ground floor.
The first and most important room is the playroom. We have to have a room to lock the children in. Out of the...
What, bolt on the outside of the door?
Absolutely, yeah.
You've chosen a builder.
Yeah.
What sort of price did they give you for everything?
For everything, and he's promised us faithfully it won't be anything more than this, is going to be 74.5 grand.
Do you have any concerns? Because it's a big project, and that, you know, it's a lot of money, and it's a massive impact onto your family home.
John had a friend who, when they went into the cellar, found a big stream.
Yeah, he had a stream running underneath his house.
So that
his
wasn't
bill
good.
went from 14 weeks to 14 months, by which time he'd been divorced and kicked out his house, so he never actually got to see the cellar.
OK, so now you've got a worst-case scenario in your mind.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do better than that, then.
We've sat and looked at plans, but I'm not entirely sure whether, when we get down there and the space is made, it's really going to look like that. If it's a lot smaller than I think it's going to be, I'm going to be dead upset.
John and Liz have a budget of £74,500 to spend on the building costs plus the bathroom's fixtures and fittings. All other flooring and all other decorating costs are outside of this budget. They plan to remodel their existing cellar and want to create a utility room, a wet room and a sunroom leading onto the garden. There'll also be a study for John and a playroom for the boys. They hope to have all of this work completed in 16 weeks so that their life can once again return to normal. John and Liz are investing a huge amount of their personal savings into this project. But in light of the amount of extra space they're getting from their home, well, it makes perfect sense. My only concern here, though, is that they haven't put a huge amount of detail into the planning of how their finished product is going to look. They've got no idea apart from a couple of sets of drawings. And that, the finishing off, is exactly where the costs can escalate. John and Liz have decided to trust a friend's recommendation to use a local firm, Altrincham Basement and Cellar Conversions, headed up by Bobby Durkin. John and Liz's basement is the foundation supporting their entire house. So Bobby's team take extreme care as they start to open up the space.
It's a very, very dangerous job. It's got to be done correctly.
We've took the wall out, we've put this steel beam in. Without this beam, the house would come tumbling down.
But inside the house, it seems John and Liz's worst fears are coming true.
Obviously, a major worry is the fact that there's enormous cracks now appearing in my main supporting wall of my house, which they promised me is just the plaster settling down a little bit, so we'll see.
Anxious to see how their basement is taking shape, John and Liz clamber in for a sneak preview.
I thought it would be bigger in this bit.
Yeah, I was thinking it would be bigger that way somehow.
I don't know. I just can't quite get my head around the space.
The Greenings basement project is well underway, but it seems it's nothing like what they were expecting.
I think we're both a little bit surprised that the whole underneath the cellar didn't look like the nice, pretty drawings on white paper. I'm hoping that when it's clean and it's plastered and the doors are in, that it turns out to be the kind of space I think it is.
It's 4 weeks since Liz and John started their basement dig. I'm here to find out how they're enjoying living above a building site and to see if they've come to any more decisions. So you want more space, but actually, for the next few weeks, your house is just going to be, well, bedlam, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tip.
Let's see how far they've gone then.
Great.
One of John and Liz's main concerns has always been the space. But as the build progresses, their basement will actually get smaller. All right, so where we're stood here now is the garden room.
Yeah.
At the moment, you're met with a really good-sized space, but you shrink a lot. We've got floor coverings and tanking and insulation.
Yeah, which is going to bring it all in, isn't it?
One of the things I didn't appreciate was you lose about 12.5 centimetres,
Yes.
so it's only going to be to about here when you've done all the messing around.
But that's only half the plans for their future basement. The space the other side of the wall will be split into 2 separate rooms. Playroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Behind us, your study.
Yeah.
To see such a huge space and with some natural light, you're not tempted to have a really big, impressive room here?
A combination of study and playroom together.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't work, would it?
We want to keep the boys in one room
Absolutely.
and preferably soundproofed.
I mean, how are you feeling at the moment? Any concerns?
I'm still a bit twitchy about the space. It's 10 foot and some, but that's my big one, really.
Are they on schedule?
They might even finish early.
So the timescale sounds promising, but I want to catch up with Mark, the foreman, to double-check the dimensions of the Greenings basement. John's under the illusion or delusion that this is going to be, what, almost 10 foot in width.
Right.
That's clearly not the case, is it?
No.
What's the width going to be finished?
It's going to be roughly 2.5 metres, which is roughly 8 foot.
He's going to be quite a bit narrower than he's hoping, and that's his biggest fear, isn't it?
It's one of them, yeah.
Yeah, oh, it's one of them. He told you other fears, has he?
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you get back to work.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Right, no worries.
So it looks like the builders are bang on schedule. In fact, they could even be a couple of days ahead. My worry here, though, is John's attitude to this build. He's very enthusiastic, he's very keen, but unfortunately, his aspirations seem to be sky high. He's hoping that the dimensions of this basement dig are going to reflect upstairs. Now, that's never going to be the case due to the support and all the finishings they need to put in down there. Plus, that's not even reflected in the drawings. We're talking about 10-foot width when it's actually going to be 8 foot. My worry is that at the end of this entire project, size-wise, John could be left rather underwhelmed. John and Liz Greening have embarked on an ambitious project to convert their basement, but it hasn't been plain sailing.
There's enormous cracks now appearing in my main supporting wall of my house.
And John's still not convinced about the space.
I'm hoping against hope that it turns out to be the kind of space I think it is.
John and Liz are over halfway through the allocated time for their basement project. They head down to see how things are shaping up underground.
I think when we last spoke to Johnny, we were in here in the playroom, and we were initially thinking that it felt a lot smaller, the space. But actually, now that we've seen it, it doesn't feel that way at all.
And John's thrilled with his new hideaway.
We are standing in my new garden room. It's a place of solitude for me. It's going to have a door there. I haven't decided whether I'm going to have a lock on it or not.
So things are coming along nicely, but a few days later, the whole build comes a cropper.
Well, we got back from holiday, bank holiday Monday, to find that nasty, smelly stuff. And it turns out there's a blockage in the drain.
But as the days went by and the blockage didn't free itself, it turns out that there was a collapsed drain because tree roots have got into the joints and pulled the whole thing down. So we can't have a shower. Once the bath's full, it's full. Once the sink's full, it's full, and you can't flush the toilet.
It's foreman Mark who gets the unenviable task of going down the 12-foot shaft to fix the drain.
We're in the process of joining the gap now with some new drainage pipe, some new connections, and hopefully we can retest the drains and get all those sewage and toilets back up and working this afternoon for the family.
But John's running out of clothes and patience.
I'm fed up of it. I've had enough. We've got no clean clothes because we haven't washed since we got back from holiday. I've got no clean pots because we can't clean anything from the sink. I've had one bath in 3 days. I've had enough. I want to leave.
And things go from bad to worse.
The pump's just broken down. So instead of pumping all the water out to be able to refix the pipe together, they're having to lift it all out by bucket. So it's sort of delaying everything even further. So poor old Mark's stuck down that hole even longer.
Mark's doing his best battling with the water, but John notices an unpleasant side effect. His family's waste is now spilling down the street. So whilst Mark's up to his waist in muck bailing out the drain shaft, John's also getting his hands dirty.
I'm trying to unblock the drain in the road so the neighbours don't have to have all our foul water outside their house. It's just an endless list of beautiful jobs. And this smells just as nice as the other one.
It's all hands on deck, and little by little, the problem gets solved. And Mark is allowed out of the hole.
I've just run around the house. I've flushed every toilet, emptied the bath, emptied the sink to test it and see if it's leaking, and so far so good. So it's looking promising.
The sewage problem was a major setback, but the builders have pulled out all of the stops to catch up, and it's back on track.
That is a stunning piece of wood.
But there's another worrying consequence of the busted drain.
So far, we haven't actually pinned down the insurance company. So as it stands, we're about £4,500 out of pocket. Didn't really want an insurance battle along with a house full of builders and a garden full of rubbish and a house full of dust, so and sewage.
Sounds like there's still some way to go before John and Liz's basement is finished. And when it is, will it be everything they're hoping for? When I last saw John and Liz, they were starting to have doubts about their project, and some things weren't exactly measuring up to their expectations. So now all the building work has been completed, I'm looking forward to seeing if they're happy with the end result. Hello both, how are you?
Hiya.
Nice to see you. Ooh. Nice to see you. I'll just shake your hand. So, finished?
Yep.
Relieved?
Yeah.
Let's take a look, shall we?
Mind your head.
Feels very spacious already, doesn't it? This is great, isn't it? This is really good. You happy with this?
Really
Yeah.
happy. Yeah, really, really happy.
How much time do you spend in this room working?
I'm going to spend a lot. I can easily do my job from home. So I'm going to do a lot more from home now.
I'm sure that, he'll be able to work more efficiently down here and probably get more done.
Going to have to pay for everything.
A lot more work as well. So if the work goes on here, I did sneak a peek. Next door's the playroom.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's take a peek at that. Oh, now we're talking. I bet the boys absolutely love this room, don't they?
They haven't actually really used it yet.
So this has been bought for you then?
It's a gift from the builders.
Is it?
Yeah?
Well, it fits brilliantly, doesn't it? I mean, this is an amazing space for a little nipper.
Yeah, it's. I'm really jealous as well. I wish I had a room like this when I was 6.
Yeah, but if you can give your kids something like this, unfortunately for you guys, it's going to mean they're very popular. You can have other people's children coming here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a few have already booked in for later.
they?
Yeah.
So you've got lots of new rooms for the home, for the family, and the last room
It's kind of mine.
is just your room, isn't it?
Yeah.
The garden room.
Yeah.
How's that turned out?
Really, really well.
This is a man's room, isn't it?
Yeah.
Proper man. Look at that, that's brilliant, isn't it? So who designed this bench then?
My design.
Is it?
As far as it goes, it's a piece of wood on top of some bricks. But it's my pride and joy. I'm absolutely chuffed to bits.
Oh yeah, it looks great. I mean, I know you wanted a room where you could spill out into the garden and...
Yeah, and it's,
It's an inside shed.
Well, yeah, I suppose it is really, isn't it? Why don't we ever sit down and talk about the whole process? Because it's, it's been quite a big thing for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should we go back upstairs?
Yeah.
Just over 3 months ago, John and Lizzie's cellar was a wasted space. Now they've created an underground living area that's increased the overall size of their house enormously. Their new basement starts with a private study for John. There's a brand new playroom for the boys and their toys, a utility and a wet room, and finally a beautiful garden room for John. They've transformed the dark, damp cellar into a stunning, light living space that the whole family will enjoy for years to come. Well, first of all, timescale-wise, it's been a walk in the park, hasn't it?
Pretty much. I think when we had the issue with the drains, that delayed them a week. So
Right.
potentially we would have finished a tad early.
Well, that's great going, though. Essentially 5 rooms out of a basement.
You could almost look at it as a separate flat.
Yeah.
It
It's
did-
big enough.
Do you think you're bringing your mother up to the...
It's a big job, isn't it? It's a huge project, which you did have worries about at the start of, didn't you?
Yeah.
Loads of. Worried about whether it would be dry, worried about whether it would be big enough, worried about whether we could afford it, which is still debatable. But all worries have been put to the back burner.
Yeah.
They're gone, aren't they?
Financials. What was your original budget, remind me?
For the build, it was 74.5. I think I might be talking out of turn. I think we were a bit naive about how much the extra finishing bits would actually cost.
Well, that's where things get, not out of control, but that's where things go over. Yeah. So you overall spent, can you say these words?
84,500-ish.
Is it painful to say that figure then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's including the extra drainage things that weren't covered by the insurance claim.
It's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what you're left with now is something that you're happy with?
Really happy.
Yeah.
More than just happy, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, enjoy your new home downstairs. You certainly deserve it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Renovation projects are always challenging, but if you want to make life easy for yourself and get some insider information, why not log on to our website? John and Liz are thrilled with their basement conversion, and their boys Tom and Joe couldn't wait to get their mates round to enjoy their playroom. The mum and dads are over too. And even the builders have scrubbed up for a glass of bubbly to celebrate.
A toast to Bobby and his gang, who've done a brilliant job. Cheers, fellas. Cheers. Couldn't have done it any better.
You've got two kids.
Cheers!
The builders have done a brilliant job. Brilliant to have the playroom for the kids, brilliant to have the workspace. To be honest, I'm pretty jealous and thinking about getting it done myself now.
It's just such a transformation, because before it was just a warren of little tiny rooms, and now it's just so light and bright and they can use it.
It's absolutely fantastic, way better than... I'm not sure what we were imagining when we started out on this, but it wasn't this. It's brilliant.
This project was a huge leap into the unknown for John and Liz, as they couldn't picture what the end result would look like. And although along the way they had a few wobbles over space and nightmares over the drains, coming back, it's great to see them both so excited over the space they've created. And I know this will have a huge impact on their family life for years to come.